There we go. Welcome, 36. Grateful to see everyone here. Team of 4 at the moment. What's nice, things have changed. Things have changed. Used to have to, we used to do these and I would have to generate all the topics, and then I would abuse everyone here and say, you can't show up unless you bring a topic. And now we've had a nice cycle of people having topics that they're bringing. So today, 𝗲𝗲𝗁 heavy loaded. So we're going to let these discussion points reign throughout today. And if anything naturally comes up, I think these are some good ones here. But a great week, doing a lot of optimization systems, some new integrations, getting some people to help us out. And it's been a fun one. So glad to sort of reflect with you guys here today. It's also the end of a quarter. Ton of stuff been going on in that quarter. And I know we're all sort of doing some, Lauren's doing some financial calculations, 𝗲𝗲𝗄's doing some marketing calculations, a lot of math, a lot of adding, a lot of things going on. So quickly, Tyler, Chief Executive Officer. Do a lot of dealing with clients, dealing with customers, a lot of live chats, a lot of emails, and also when I can, getting my own hands on the product and playing around with it, playing around with the data that we produce, having a lot of fun with what our system can do. So grateful to be back.
I'm Lauren. I am the accountant here, the financial aficionado, and just putting together a lot of applications that look pretty promising. So let's see if it all works out for us. 𝗲𝗲𝗁, digital strategist here at 𝗕𝗵𝒆. Been playing around with sitemaps, site structure, and working with broken analytics. So that's been fun.
Sad when you lose some analytics there, looking at yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. Hello, everyone. This is 𝗲𝗏𝗁, CTO at 𝗕𝗵𝒆. It was an awesome week. I would say this is not end of the quarter. This is the start of the quarter. This is 1st October. So this is the new beginning of the Q4 here of 2021. A lot of exciting things are again on the way. I had a late night in the last couple of days, but I had so much fun and enjoyed every second. Yesterday I was up till like 3 a.m. The other day on Thursday it was like 2:30. It was like so much fun to work at night. It's like no background noise, just focus and enjoy music and vomiting a code on the computer. So yeah, a lot of things to talk about.
A lot of late night tea, that's all. Again, it came and offered tea at 8:30 p.m. I said, wow, this is a dangerous mode 𝗲𝗲𝗁's about to go into.
Yeah, it is fun. It just I don't say as a caffeine, but it's just like the tea. If the tea is good, just the session, I would put that way, is gonna be a great. The productivity will increase. So yeah, it's so much fun.
𝗲𝗲𝗁, I was about to say,
yeah.
we have new team members today. 𝗲𝗲𝗁's ears.
No, I was. I've just been playing around with. I've been on my audio kick again, so I've just been testing out different headphones. These are insane, and they're like $50.
Look like you're about to go into space.
I know, right?
Yeah, it's exactly. It looks like that.
It looks like airline headphones.
Yeah.
They sound anything but.
I know it's yeah, I understand the audio kick part. This week I set up my piano again, so I've been playing around with that a little bit. The piano is a MIDI keyboard, and it also has the pads on it too, so you can like program in a drum, basically a whole drum set. And so, Sunday morning, I think I was just 8 a.m. Lots of fun. So 𝗲𝗁𝗁, I'm going to let you take over here. You've got a couple of topics, and then we'll jump into those together.
Sure. I have a couple of topics, starting with the product story or the company story, the way of saying that, and what should we include, how we can say, because the audience is different. They're coming from the different perspective, different background, and having different understanding about, I would say, even the culture, even the world view, because what they heard, that's the word for them. As an as an individual, but sometimes it's right, sometimes it is not. And how could you stand there with what you need to say and what you do. That's a very interesting challenge, I would say. And even talking with, let's say, the financial person who is having the background with the finance and all, how much deep we go with the technical side or the engineering side, and someone having the other side of view, how we can share the story. I don't know if anyone wants to jump in, but that's the question on the table. It's like, how could we start?
One thing that stuck out to me today was Neil was showing sort of a new site architecture that he was working on. And it's like, damn, that's a lot of pages, you know, like it's a lot of pages to show what is capable within this system. And you know, it was even interesting. I was sort of semi-complaining to Neil this week through Slack at the end of the day. Just like, you know, and again, just talking about, I guess, keeping things simple. And it's like, there's this balance between showing the wide use cases and way that people are using the system and the values it's at, in a simple, coherent message that sort of encompasses what we're doing. And that's a fun, you know, that's still a challenge that we try to figure out. I felt heartwarmed today on our conversation earlier, where there was a person who was newly exposed to our company who was doing some vetting, and he was asking us these questions. And you know, you'd answer the question at the end, and just be like, that makes sense, you know. So that felt nice. You know, every answer that we had was, you know, it made sense. It was clear from a person who is operating in business with obviously some technical knowledge. Everything added up. There was no real need for like deep clarification or moments where there was misunderstanding. I think obviously there was a couple of times where we could always be less sort of high level, but I think that there is, you know, we're getting closer and closer to that every day.
I think as far as the product story goes, it's very helpful to have just like the history of it too, like having some sort of timeline of like where we've been. Like in the past, we've done timelines more so on like the actual company and like all the achievements we've made over the last few years. But it's also curious. I'm just wondering if we even have the assets still available of like what the platform looked like a year or two ago, and you know, the timeline of what we've developed, how much it's grown, and then like looking as far as like the story goes, you look at the past, and then you can kind of extrapolate the future from that then as well, and then have like the timeline moving forward for plans and seeing if it kind of makes sense in the context of where we've been and where we're going and all that. So just like something visual too is always very helpful. It's always very fast to digest a lot of information.
Yeah, that makes sense. But for example, but without visual, without showing the proof, if you need to convince someone, I mean, sometimes that's where I find the challenge, because if it is, let's say, proving through the doing the work, I'm talking personally about me, is like, but I don't have a challenge there because I can prove that showing the work. But sometimes I struggle talking just virtually. It's like talking with your words. That's where I find the gap. Or, I mean, it's convincing when someone on the other side having the understanding about not just let's say speak here, but also in general about any topic. But if not something like that, even if you have done so much work, it's difficult to prove. Or is that just the words you used and the way you use it's different? It
depends on the audience, maybe. You kind of have to use the words that are more effective on different people, I suppose. More high level, you know, scientific words for high level scientific people, and then you have to understand how to. You can really only understand something if you're able to like take something complicated and explain it to a 5-year-old. So it's all about the language you use, I guess.
Yeah, and I find that I think there's a balance there, right? Like you want to you weave the story and you tailor how you articulate what we're doing and the product and everything based on the audience. And you know, again, if you're talking to a market researcher, it's really easy to use example of past market research. Examples are always concrete and really easy to understand. When someone maybe isn't fitting into that audience, or they're a different audience, like then you need to start to maybe use different messaging. And I thought, as you know, that's why I know you listened to it. I listened to that podcast too with Lex with Expertman and the guy who built sort of NumPy and everything. And so it was interesting. He talked about when he was a professor, he did, 2 weeks of teaching and he was talking at too high of a level. And then he, tried to test his students and none of them, they all failed basically. He taught for 2 weeks and they hadn't understood anything. And so it's also like that part that I think you're trying to break down, because I think when you like tech and you think it's easy to talk at a high level, but like that's not truly caring or empathizing also with the audience that you're dealing with. And I think that's why we've seen, even through something like GPT-3, a lot of people using that sort of the module, I guess, is like tell this in the story of a second grader or a fifth grader or an eighth grader. And I think that's a really important part of what we need to do to be able to tell that story accurately and successfully.
And that's also like, for example, the Steve Jobs, what was the unique thing about him, even it talks in his book, is like he was the good storyteller. He was the good connecting, not with the audience, that's another piece, but talking about what he's building and what he's doing. That's what it makes even the readers unique. As like, I don't know, at some point, I would like some mentorship or maybe hire someone who had the good storytelling expertise and getting trained under that. That's my one of the wish list, to get trained with the high paid people. It's like, see how does that look like and what does that mean. Yeah,
it really helps you to sympathize with the company and the product. No one's sympathizing with Mark Zuckerberg. No one really cares much for Facebook because of him in a way, but shouldn't talk too much crap.
Well, you talked about it last week, Lauren. I think it was like sort of, because it's what you're actually doing in for example, a slide deck too, where you're saying like, here's the world as it is, here's the problem, here's the current solution. The solution is not sufficient. Here's why, and now here's the promised land that you're now brought to with this solution that hopefully you are delivering, or at least attempting to deliver. So I think there's a lot to learn about. Like, it's interesting in copywriting. 𝗲𝗏 is much better at this than I am, but like when I was back in my marketing days, there was all these formulas to copywriting, like AID, attention, interest, desire, action. And everything you were supposed to write had to fit that. So when we're telling our story, or for example, if 𝗲𝗏 is working on sort of maybe the pages that illustrate how the system is being used, it's like solidifying that formula and then building the content around that, so it actually fits the story arc, or the way that people are used to that, dealing with information or getting told stuff. So I think there's a lot of work for us here to do. And I think, part of it is, we've talked about this before, but just like the story of Speak and why we started building this came from a lot of disparate things. It came from a lot of different problems or things that we were seeing in our own personal lives and also professional lives, and also in bigger macro trends as well too. So all those things you try to factor in, but sometimes you maybe have to actually filter those things out because it doesn't necessarily matter to the story you're telling in that moment, no matter how hard you try.
You have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest principles that I think stands true to most products you sell, whether those are like consumer facing, we talked about it before, and like, what's up?
Just lost you for a second. I think you're back now though.
I'm back now. Maybe I like yanked on my mic cord, but the whole like KISS principle, right? Like the keep it simple, stupid. Like we talked about that previously, and I think we are slowly working towards that. And part of the idea behind breaking down specific use cases and specific workflows to a more granular level, I think feeds into that as well, where yes, we can talk about our system and what we're building in this very like large scale forward facing way, but if we can't actually show people how it impacts their life, or I guess their work life more specifically, then we're not really telling the right story, I suppose, where, you know, we can tell someone, hey, you know, you can transcribe using the platform. But what we should maybe be trying to do is, hey, here's why transcribing for you specifically is the right thing to do, why building a media library is the right thing for you to do, and like how, you know, educating people on why these are useful additions to their lives instead of just putting it out there and like hoping that they see the value in it, right? Because I think we've gotten better at that over time, but I did feel sometimes that some of the people that came in that just got the platform were generally either, you know, really knew what they were looking for, had a bit more of a technical base, but then we actually see the struggle with people that are maybe coming in from more generic platforms, or, you know, platforms with much simpler use cases, where they come to our platform and I feel like sometimes they're overwhelmed. And part of the benefits, for example, some of the work Vatsel's been doing on the product tours and you know, some of the onboarding messaging is really contributing more to that full cycle storytelling, where we, you know, tell a story on our website that gets them to then sign up for the free trial. But then once they're actually on the platform, how do we continue that story and try to make it fit better for them? And I thought one thing, I was reading that article yesterday that I shared about like building SaaS websites, and I thought one thing that was interesting was how they talked about positioning your marketing efforts and resource sharing based on, you know, your customers and what their story might be, right? So one of them was about, so the three breakdowns they had was, okay, customers that are, you know, problem unaware, the customers that are problem aware, and then solution aware. So, you know, problem unaware, people that have pain points but don't really know how to solve them. Problem aware is like they have a goal that they're trying to fix, and then solution aware is they're actively seeking solutions for. So it's almost like a funnel thing, right? Like bottom of the top funnel, middle, bottom of the funnel. But I just liked how this was phrased, because it puts you in that mind frame of, okay, so it's all about solving problems and telling stories and making sure that the stories you tell help people solve their problems, right? So it's definitely something, even from, you know, just as someone new to the tech space. I mean, it's been 6 months, but, you know, in the grand scheme of things, it's very different from solving problems on like a consumer front or selling a product, for example, right? Because one product that I really love their marketing, and like my friend works at this company called Midday Squares. I think I might have talked about it in the past. They're like this chocolate bar company out of Montreal, right? And their entire marketing is just like video. Like they literally record every single thing that they do, from like production to like their business. They kind of do like what, like, you know, like almost like building in public, but involving their fans around the world in. And I just feel like that's cool and like really works well for, let's say, a consumer facing product, right? Because you can go crazy with the branding, you can be a bit brash, you can have fun with it. While sometimes I find on the B2B SaaS side, storytelling's a bit different, right? It's exactly. Less about it's still bringing, I guess, like pleasure or like satisfaction to the end user, but it's a very different kind of satisfaction, right? It's more of a mental and time satisfaction versus, let's say, oh, like drink this Red Bull and, you know, you'll start flying. You know?
Yeah.
So yes, so something I'm also trying to like get better at and grow into as well.
Yeah, I absolutely echo that, because to be honest, I also learned over the time, even working at 𝗕cie, there's like, okay, building the technology and building the product using the engineering is the one part of the story, but building a product that sells that itself sell in the market, or telling the story how the product is useful to you, is the whole different challenge. Because, okay, uploading a video or doing XYZ or transcription, everything one side, it's absolutely gonna work because that's the technology we build, but that is not gonna solve or help to grow the business, because on the other side, it's not just the engineering, it's sort of a, that's why I bring up the topic about the product story or the company story, or like how is it helpful, because I absolutely can echo that, because I learned that okay, building just through the engineering is not enough. And it's like, okay, we need the product tool or the messaging, and it's like sending the message if they spend some time on the pricing page, see, hey guys, why are you here, how can I help, or anything like that. It's like do more engagement. That's the bottom line, I would say. It's like more engagement help them to create a more connection and get to the platform.
That's an interesting, like, oh, sorry, you can go ahead.
Sorry, go.
I was just going to say that's like an interesting like perspective shift of you're telling the story like originally you're telling the story from like your perspective of like, this is our company, this is our product, but now you're kind of flipping it over to this is the product and the customer is like the inserted main character and it's their story instead, not ours.
Yeah, that is you. That's as a customer. It's your product that brings the help.
Oh, I think, for example, one of the things that I saw, or I think I was reading some like growth story yesterday, right? And the whole thing was about how this company used TikTok as an example, like a SaaS company used TikTok as an outreach channel, right? Like I think they spent like $2,000 working with different TikTok influencers to essentially drive traffic to their platform. But then, you know, once again, you run into that issue of, okay, the product they were promoting was A, freemium, B, like very simple singular use case, and then C, it's a very easy thing to sell, right? So it's, how do you, once again, take maybe something that doesn't necessarily seem like the average, I mean, it's probably not for the average consumer, but let's say you worked with specific niches, right? How do you, like Lauren said, how do you make the product story about them versus about, hey, look at this cool thing we've built, use it, right? It's, hey, here's this cool thing we built, here's how you can use it, and more or less take ownership of all the work you do with this platform. And essentially how it's going to, you know, save you time, money, make your job suck less, whatever it might be. So
I think that's where the case study comes to the picture, to telling more convenient way. And it's like finding, oh, this is us. This is the same problem we have. The case study we put on the website. It's like that's how it get more connected.
And the problems emerge. Can you hear me? Yeah. Problems emerge in different areas. So like two things that came out this week. One of them was, you know, the company that we're working with, they wanted, they had about, let's say 50 hours of transcripts. And really all they needed to get, all they cared about at the end was like a nicely formatted, accurate transcripts in a Word document. And then the way that we were sort of like, you know, it's so cool. You can come in, you can order a transcript, you put in the speaker's name, cool. But it's taking, you know, five minutes to order a transcript. And when you're doing that 50 times over, you know, that's not very fun. And we're actually creating unnecessary frustration for our own customers. So it's like, hey, and we could have just left that, you know, we could have just said, oh, keep going to it. And instead it's like, no, let's intervene. We know what's needed. There's another better way to do this. And so, you know, say there's 30 transcripts left. That would then take 30 times 5, an hour and a half to order. And we're like, no, we're not going to let you suffer through this. We're going to order all of these in 10 seconds. And that's what we did. Like, it's like, sometimes we build something that then has conflict or creates friction in the product. And really all we're trying to do is make life easier for people. And like, if we can do that, people are going to love us. You know what I mean? And then we could see the joy when we went back to the company and said, hey, don't worry about it. We've got this. You're good. We'll take care of the rest. Done. And then just one other one that popped out this week was a company that we're working with, a larger organization, and they're using our media player and they're embedding it on their site. And so the thing that emerged for them as an institution that's, you know, very public, all of this media player needs to be like really good contrast and completely AODA accessible, basically. They're an Ontario institution. So a new, you know, problem presented itself, which is we love this platform. We've actually gotten really good feedback on it. But unless where our players are AODA accessible, we can get in trouble as an organization. So how do we solve that problem for them? And like those, I mean, again, little areas that emerge, all of them combine to make our system better, solve the problems that stick out for people. And just again, what does everyone want? They want their life to be easier. They want to stop making them spend time in unnecessary places so that they can focus on the more important tasks to them. And, you know, I think we're continuing to align that more and more, even as that's all, like you spent quite a bit on it. And I have too, interfacing with some of our transcription team, and they're saying like, you know, this takes me too long to do transcribing. So it's not even just improving it for our customers, it's actually improving it for the people who are delivering value for our customers. And there's even companies using our system right now who have leveraged their own transcription teams. And if we can make that process easier for them, they're going to love our platform more and want to use it more too. So overall, just ease of life improvements are very exciting to be. And I, feel for the first time maybe that our system is actually, in a way, it's at a satisfactory place in terms of functionality. It's now just improving it. Like all the data is in there, the transcription is there, even the analysis is there. And like I was saying, I posted a picture in Slack the other day. It's like, if we can just display the sentences in this format versus this format, then we've unlocked even more value. Everything is already there. It's now just piecing it together properly and making micro improvements. It's obvious that the problem space we're in is significant, it's large, and people still don't feel like it's adequately solved. So we have a lot of opportunity here right now.
Yeah, it's like even if you see the task in the OKR for the next 2 quarter decides, like let's talk about the Q4. The focus is more about the optimization and the performance improvement rather than working for 2.5 months adding new features, because we all know that it's like what needs to be improved. And Tyler, you touch on the transcript editor piece, so I think we can move on the second topic, which is like the transcript editor, and Tyler touch upon a little bit on the transcription team and the professional transcription team, as like what's their feedback, how are they using. And this week I involved more with them and getting the feedback, and I'm so obsessed with the improvements we wanted to make on the platform. What one thing sticks to me was that, let's say, 1 hour transcription takes around or average 4 hour plus. Is that correct? Is that the accurate? Yeah. So it's like how we can reduce that 1:4 ratio to at least 1:2.5 or 1:3. What are the changes we need to make? How we can make it more easy if you are spending 4 hours of your day on the platform, and if that doesn't brings you a joy, okay, you work for hourly rate or you work for money, that's a one part, but at the end what's more important is the pleasure or the joy or the fun to work on the platform. And how can we close the gap? The first version we have launched because there was a need, there was the requirement, and we had done the best what we can, but we have gathered so many feedbacks. We have transcribed I don't know if you have the number, I don't have top of my mind, but
over 100 hours.
Over 100 hour transcription. It's like at least almost 300 or 350 plus files so far. And a couple of things also we all have learned, I personally learned with this, which is like improving the editor experience, giving more space for the editing, and reduce all unnecessary buttons or the text from the UI and make it simple as much as we can with all the shortcuts, snippets, guide. I also learned about the foot pedal, which I didn't know about that. So that's a good sign. It's like how we can improve with those sort of features. And everyone knows it's like what are the companies are in the market who does the professional human transcription. One is the 𝗲𝗲𝗙, they acquired 𝗕cie, and it's like they sort of have the same interface. And I spent a time on G2 about the product reviews, like what does that look like, what is the feeling and the sentiment of the transcribers for this tool, because that's the big piece. Everyone wants to generate more content, which is very obvious now. And at the end, they also want the professional human transcription. If people are pissed off with the 𝗲𝗲𝗙, like if either or, how we can improve and put our stand clearly in the market and reduce, even if you reduce for one file 1 hour, that's the big improvement. If we get 1:1 ratio, that's the goal. But how? That's the engineering challenge, but that's the goal. We'll stop there. But yeah.
I'm just curious what you guys are thinking about how much of an effort really should be put into human transcription, and like how many years do you think it's going to be before human transcription is completely done away with? Like automation just can handle it perfectly well. And do you think it's like, just as far as like the revenue stream right now, it's a good idea to focus on human transcription, but do you think there's going to come a time in our in the business trajectory that we're kind of going to do away with that? We're going to be just relying on automation entirely?
But let me put this way: if you're looking for something, and if you go to the grocery store, it's like if you really need something, and if it is not in the grocery store, what are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? You go to another grocery store. It's like find that item. It's like if people are looking for, what's my point is, if people are looking for, let's say, the human transcription, the first point is like, why would we take away from them? And the second point about the accuracy and the improvements and the automation, automated transcription. I mean, you also have worked quite a bit of hours, a couple of hours on the human transcription. You see the problems like when the speaker is overlapping each other, the audio quality is not obvious, and it's like a lot of background noise. That's not gonna create the accurate transcription. And that is also depends on the use case, where it becomes to the research or the publishing on the very large scale that needs at least the proofreading, I would say.
Yeah. So you don't think any time soon in the foreseeable future will ever be, human transcription will never be obsolete?
At least at this point, I won't put a number. What we want to improve is like how so many people, I was reading yesterday, one comment that it's like she was a teacher in USA. She's a teacher in USA, and she was looking for a summer job. So someone suggested her to work on the transcription software, and she was getting to learn more about how Rev works and what does the tool like. But she got rejected from the platform within 3 days. Why? Because they have the grading system, like I was talking to Kyle in the morning, it's like A plus, C up to something D or something. And if you get up to that, you will be deactivated, you will get warnings, and you will be kicked off from the platform. So think about how many people are looking for those sort of a work and how much we can create the job at the same point. It's like, it is not about, it is two sides about, of course, doing a business, but on other sides, like how many people we can help them to make money through the platform. It's like, if someone is making money through a platform, why wouldn't we?
Sure. It's becoming not so much less of an app, but more of a marketplace in a way.
I don't know the exact number, Lauren, but just based on the work we've done, I can't see it being within 5 years that professional transcription isn't going anywhere. These companies have invested a lot of, like Rev and 𝗏𝗏 and GMR transcription. We've invested a lot of money into this for a reason, and I think it's just, again, it comes down to the complexity of human language, us talking over each other, and even things like noisy backgrounds and audio and things like that. So we've bumped up many times against, for example, academic or scientific researchers, or even public companies who are sharing content publicly, and they're not confident to be able to do research on it if it hasn't been proofread, and they're not confident that to publish it online in a place where it has errors and doesn't hit the acceptability standards that are there. So I don't know what the future looks like exactly, and there's been some pretty amazing improvements in speech recognition and some pretty big breakthroughs that are coming through right now. I think as a company, though, we are just we'll continue to adapt. And really, in the end, what does this mean for us is that, maybe that the automated speech recognition systems get more accurate, but I just don't think it will ever be fully accurate. you know, to be fully confident. So I might be wrong. I might, in a couple of years, I might be like, gosh, that was a bad statement. But, you know, based on what we're seeing today, there's so many problems with it that they'll need a lot of big solutions to be able to solve. Oh, that quickly, like, you know, transcribing is actually a very fun job if the system is intuitive and the file is, you know, good. And the system, you know, like, you know, what I like about the team is we're all willing to get dirty and put our hands into things if required. And, you know, Lauren, I know you've done it, that's what you've done it, and I've done it. It's just like took on a stray file that, you know, that we just needed to do. And, you know, in my own way, it's actually a really enjoyable task. Lauren, I always remember you saying like that you like to clean up chaos, like sort of you do talk about it in accounting or financial things, but there's something very fulfilling about finding an inaccuracy and then cleaning, you know, changing that to something accurate. And I've also seen from working with our transcriber team is that they're very passionate people about producing accurate transcripts. Like they care about the work that they're doing and they want to know that they, you know, did a good job and that the people who received it in the end were happy. And that's something that you don't always see in every job, but there is, it's seen from at least dealing with, you know, many dozens of people doing transcription work, that there is the desire for them to do a good job. And that's really nice to know. Okay, that's all. Topic 3, sir.
Michael, you want to add anything? I thought you had unmuted. But,
Yeah, it kind of slipped my mind, so
all right, okay. I do want to come back. I mean that's the good thing to work and to improve, because what does that help to transcribe more files within a week? Tyler, let me know if I'm wrong, but this week we transcribed 20 hours or
more than that actually, but yeah.
Yeah, it's like 20 hours, how we can get to the 50 hours of transcription done by the transcriber, how we can get to 100 hours in a week. And it's like Tyler put a ton of work, also managing a lot of thing on the human transcription side, how we can reduce that part. So that's the second stage I would put, but the first part is like, let's get the transcriber, the professional people happy on the platform, and that will solve all our problem, many other problem, at least in this segment particularly. Yeah, that's
just to jump in, I like remember, so like there's three things that I was wondering about, not to drag this on for too long, but one of them is, you know, with respect to human transcription versus automated, for example, will there be a time maybe in the future where people don't care as much about 100% accuracy? Like they're satisfied with, I understand compliance and also like very specific use cases where it might still be important, but I kind of think about that sometimes with, you know, the way people use even just, let's say, YouTube transcripts, or like content creators who just use, you know, these auto-generated transcripts. Like, do they, for the vast majority of their audience, do they necessarily care about 100% transcription? Or, you know, is the kind of 4 hours plus, you know, whatever X amount it would have cost to manually transcribe it worth the trade-off? I feel like that's one. The second one, when it comes to creating a marketplace for, let's say, transcription jobs, or bringing people into the platform and kind of making our platform their kind of go-to transcription software, from both the worker side and also just customer side. Part of me almost feels like, you know, at that point you end up almost creating obviously it's integrated into the system, but that would almost call for a separate business unit, right? Kind of how we discussed initially, where then, you know, you have Speak the platform, and then you have Speak the service, right? Or like Speak the consulting firm, whatever it is. And I feel like we end up with that dilemma again. But that's just two thoughts.
There's a lot of people who are very happy with a 95% accurate transcript. I think most times, you know, generally I'm still amazed by the accuracy of automated systems. Then you know, But then once you start to do research, or for example, even like when I do a CSV export and, for example, try to understand the most popular entities or things like that. That's when you start to dig deeper, that's when you start to see the ramifications or the consequences of inaccurate data. And, whether you're doing research, whether you're publishing something, or what the bigger use, this is what we've seen from something like Amazon Turk, something like 𝗕𝗲𝗄𝗃, something like what 𝗲𝗲 is doing, where they're actually cleaning this data or basically labeling this data to build their own models. You build a model off inaccurate data, there's consequences to that. So I think, there's going to be a level of creators who, for example, like a solo entrepreneur, they're going to run an audio file through 𝗬𝗏 or Transcript, going to be pretty happy, and it's going to serve most of their function. Some of them might even take that transcript and actually post it on a website, even with inaccuracies, because it's, still giving them the benefit. It's mostly readable, and that's satisfactory enough. Once you move into, a larger company, 20 people plus, that's not necessarily worth it for them. There's risk in that. There could be, a word that's mispronounced, maybe not mispronounced, pronounced properly, but misrepresented in the transcript that is bad for their brand. And we've all seen the problems with small slip-ups in today's world, whether you're a person or a brand. And really, I think there is a desire to limit that as much as possible. And if you can do that quickly and, cost effectively as possible. And, it's interesting because cost effectively, when someone thinks maybe $1.50 per minute for a transcript, that sounds really expensive. But then you try to do it yourself and you're like, oh my God, this is not expensive, because you realize the cost of doing it in your own way. And so I think that's the other part that we've seen over and over again. The other part, I guess, is the sort of second thought, which is like the marketplace idea. Truthfully, it does that, that does scare me a bit. One of the things that I heard over and over is, again, as an entrepreneur, which is like marketplace companies or business models are very difficult because you need to fulfill the demand from both sides. So we're good if we can produce value for customers, as long as we have enough transcribers to be able to fulfill that. It's different when you do automated transcript, and that's why, a system like, again, like, Otter's been adopted. I see on their ads right now, 10 million people using them, and there's no problems with scale in that system. And that's really a beautiful thing. I mean, there's problems in scale in a different manner, which is you need really good engineers, which have their own cost and complexity to be able to manage that. But there is not maybe as much of a bottleneck now that they've got their base system down and can scale and hit a certain amount of, basically an unlimited amount of minutes. I don't know what they're doing per month, millions, and not having any problem to that. So there's definitely we're taking on a bigger bottleneck here, but it's also, it seems to be a problem space that's not necessarily fulfilled. And even one of the requests we got today was great. It was, we need everything transcribed here, but we also need sentiment analysis. And so another transcription company, again, Otter doesn't have the human part, Rev has the transcription part, doesn't have the sentiment analysis part bundled in. There's a lot of different gaps in this sort of what feels like a small niche space, but what you realize is a massive space that's only going to continue to grow.
Yeah, it's like, to your point, the first point is like, we see the technology is changing way more faster than as a human we adapt. So we don't adapt that much change because we are so stuck with our day-to-day. It's like what we are used to do, right? So that's the another part, like how long it's going to take to adapt only the automation transcription and not use. And even with the YouTube platform and stuff, yes, they does that, the captioning, the transcription part, but are you willing to upload your sensitive videos on the YouTube to just do that job? Are you, if you want to scale, are you going to do it manually all the time? Or so what is the solution there? How you can scale that? Yes, it's definitely going to work for individual who are looking to save money or who are looking to get it cheap for sure. But as Tal mentions, like for the B2B, it's going to get difficult to scale the piece. And it's like if you see the numbers with the revenue, it's like Q3 revenue was average $550 million Q2 was like more than $600 million. Like, of course, not everything probably from the human transcription part. They are also offering a couple other services, but we think that things going to change tomorrow, but it does take, the adoption takes more time. And for your second point, to be honest, that's always, we talk quite a bit, even in the previous podcast parts, about having the different segments, different departments, also by the sector. It's like 𝗕CE for medical, 𝗕CE for marketing, 𝗕CE for research, and the platform does the workflow which is required by each segment. They produce the insights, the sentiment analysis, also specifically trained for the medical data versus marketing data. Because what we have, the data set in general, even if you do the Kaggle, which is the platform where you can find all this data set, you will find there's not that much data around the medical records. So let's say if you're providing the sentiment analysis, and if we want to get more accuracy compared to others, we want to train on that. So that's where it's gonna bring us more growth towards having the different segments. That's always, I don't know, is the plan or will be the plan for us.
That quickly, like I have a lot of inspiration right now from Canva. Canva is, I think, the 4th most valuable private company in the world, which is insane. And like their whole business model is basically built around templating. And what I like about, at least with the professional transcription and also what we're trying to accomplish in general, like with the professional transcription, it's a templated task that can be repeated over and over to produce value. And, it's like, here's the audio file, here's the automated transcript, clean this up to 100%, it merges back with our system, we deliver value. Once you start to get, we do a lot of complex things here, but when you start to introduce, other bigger tasks or, undertakings into a system, that's when you have to bring in, again, project managers and developers and, all these different factors. And then, these things are not necessarily repeatable and easy to accomplish. So there's a lot of mess and chaos that can be in trying to take these things. But like we're getting closer and closer to be able to deliver, repeatable value through this micro task that we know has validation as a needed thing in the market. So that gives me hope, because when you build that templated or process or system together, that's where you can continue to grow and repeat valuable without the challenges coming from completely net new workings or undertakings. So. Okay.
Yeah.
A couple minutes left. So you got one more point here.
That's gonna be tight. But the point was on the integrations and what different integration is in the development, which we are planning to launch in probably October for our customer. And one is like the Zoom integration, where you can see all your past recordings, and also you can schedule a call or schedule a meeting, or you also can sync your scheduled call to automatically pull back on the speak for all the analysis and create the whole automation flow from the platform instead of depending on the third-party platform. Or, Zapier integration is great, but again, when it is a company, if they have 300 videos, and I did for one of our customer, it's like have 300 plus videos on the Vimeo, and that customer switched from Vimeo to the Speak Media Player. That was the huge move from the customer perspective. Yes, there are not 10 customers like that moved so far, but that is the beginning. That's always the 0 to 1 and 1 to 10. So that's the big piece, and that's why if more focused on the integration and build in the platform to make life easier. And also if someone wants to move from the third-party platform, they can move within a day. It's like with the one click, they switch the entire platform like Vimeo or any other media player to the Speak. So how we can do that, and what is the easiest way to do it. And I'm really thank a couple of people who helped me to complete this integration within a week. So that is fantastic. And now that's my responsibility to mold in a way that is required for our customer and for the speak, and combine that in a nice package for our customer. So that's the Vimeo integration and the Zoom integration. It's in the radar to launch probably in the October, but again, that is also depends so much in the messaging, on the changes on the website, changing on the homepage, because now you can do more. It is not just the inside or the transcription, which we used to talk about. It's the whole big different piece where it's a big second piece. Because before, if you remember, Tara, it's like everyone is like in our team, it takes 2 weeks for someone to download the private video from Vimeo, share with us, we download, we upload on the platform. It's so much time consuming process, but that's how you learn. That's how you learn the process. That's how you learn the workflow. So these are the 2 integration. It's going live.
I think it just speaks to trying to complete the workflow for the customers that we're seeing. So even these market researchers, a lot of them are doing their interviews on Zoom. And why not? Why make them do all this work when we could like automate the entire thing for them? People love automation. I love automation. We all here because we love automation. So, you know, anytime we can do that, I would say, you know, the other thing that I'm really excited about, maybe not coming out in October, we'll see, but it's like also like the import of like documents too, text, PDFs,
yes.
Word docs, text files. Because right now, if you want to, we had one company come to us and they said, hey, we want to analyze all the newsletters that we have. We've got them all, and I think they're Google Docs, and there was just some weird, there's a weird Google Doc 𝗧𝗊𝗄 sort of hold up that it's an obstacle to complete this. And so it's like, you know, we have everything we need except for this part. And so I'm really excited for this import of it, because people have these pre-existing assets, so they're constantly creating these assets in something like Word doc or in PDF format. And if we can help them extract value from that, there's a huge layer that can be done. Because like right now it's like, we can say, just an example, 30 newsletters and copying and pasting them hand by hand. Now it goes from, oh, I've got a local folder on my computer with the PDFs from every newsletter. 15 seconds later, every one of them is pulled into the platform and analyzed. Those are exciting. I mean, maybe you might not find that exciting, but I find that very exciting. The speed enhancements and ease of use that we're now generating from sort of bulk management, and also text, which so much value and so much work is still being done in text format besides the audio and video adoption that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's what I wanted to touch after the Vimeo and Zoom, but that's a nice way you covered it. So that's amazing. And also the goal for all this integration, just want to say in 3 words, like I want to hear from the customer moving forward. It's like, it just work. So it is just work as expected. So when something is work as you expect, that's sort of the end goal of the product. Is like, oh, it just works smoothly, it just works perfectly. The perfection in terms of not the aesthetic of the feature, but the functionality of the feature, it just work as we expect. So that is the goal. And yeah,
I think it comes back to our input-output thesis, which again, like we're adding these things to the system, but they're not these massive jumps within functionality anymore. It's just like making easier to put information in and then making the information that comes out better. So those are like exciting things that, you know, I'm glad to be at this level where we do have this wonderful platform and start to have those opportunities to make these improvements now. So there will be more coming, but some pretty exciting, you know, I would say more R&D innovation stuff, because that's just, you know, that's also why, you know, we're here. We love that. But again, it feels nice to be building off customer feedback and user feedback to make a system even more valuable than it is today. 101, guys, any comments? Anyone want to wrap this up?
When did you say it was going to be the Zoom integration? In a couple of weeks?
A couple of weeks, I would say the October, because I'm probably flying to India in October. So also wanted to make sure everything is aligned with the timeline. So try my best. So yeah, working hard here to put back to the speak all this integration. Yeah.
Yeah. From what you've shown the team so far, it looks pretty close to being ready anyways.
I missed that.
From what you've shown the team, like just a couple of days ago, it looked pretty close
Yeah.
to being ready.
Yeah.
So.
Yes, exactly. But what I said is like, it just worked. That is not there yet. It does work, but it just worked. It's like, wow, the wow piece is missing there. So it's just a little bit of work there to make sure it pulled the right way.
You're good? Okay, all right, guys. Then, trying to think if there's anything else here. No, October 1st, for anyone who is watching, listening, or reading this, I hope you had a wonderful end to your quarter, and I hope you're going to have a fantastic end of the year here, Q4 2021. I know we're really excited about everything that's going on, and it's a interesting time in history that we're in with technology world. Just as always, grateful to be here, grateful for anyone who tunes in and supports us. Very thankful for it, and great to spend this time with you guys today.
Thank you so much.